out. Good morning, guys. This is Sharon and her therapy bird. I'm not going to try to talk a whole lot because it upsets the other bird. So I'm dead, which is the big bird. Oh, I usually wear my headphones just because it keeps the hair out of my face and it mutes the throwing of the voice. That my hearing is very important. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this open. I'm not gonna be talking to you directly because I'm gonna be just working and such. But thought you guys would like to see. Um, it's a bit dark. I don't know if that's because my camera is dirty or what. Let me check it out. They obviously are put in with the babies. I'm gonna borrow some of your water, baby. Um, so any manner of mostly death probably, but other stuff gets taken, I'm sure. I don't know if that's better or not. It's awful dark. So dark. You should be able to see more than you do. I don't know why you're not seeing it. It's on camera mode, but it's not that dark in here. I have half of the lights on. I'll put the rest on, but that's usually this is a sufficient amount of lighting. So I don't know. Maybe the just on the light bulbs, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I do usually have this incubator on, the light on. My baby doll's in here, which I'm going to open up. Usually she likes to talk to me, and I leave the doors open. Training right now for the quail, the grow out. These are all my ones that are just beginning to be laying. I have the rest of the grow outs are underneath the camera, so I'll show you them in a minute. But those are all the babies still. These are all the grow outs, the laying hens. They were some of them are not feather flexible, as you will see. I'll show you a couple of them. But these are the ones that Daryl has determined, which is my OG mama, are girls. So I'll show you the boys, and then these are the girls. So these are feather flexible. So that's these are not feather flexible. Who else is in here? Oh, tuxedos. Tuxedo girls are not feather flexible. These are all determined by the. Now they've all been together. They were all with the OG moms. I just separated them as far as separating them from the OG moms into their own kennels because they're starting to lay. Oh, you want to come out and see? She's like, I want to come out and see Mama. And none of these have been named. These are all because the quail's lifespan is very fast, it's quick and fast. It's 3 years generally, my understanding. In the sense of 3 years when they in the breeding of birds, they qualify the ending of their egg cycle as their ending of their life. So it's not so much that you have to end the life of the bird. It's just more of they're not, other than using them as a meat source, they're not going to produce eggs for you. So it's really important when you're breeding them or keeping them as I am. It's important to understand what's going on, baby girl. You still eating? Okay, she's just eating. She knows I'm going to clean their kennel because they all know that I get upset if they have leftover food. So there'll be a scramble of any of the babies and any of the birds to eat and finish and consume the food that they had already had. Just because, like I said, they don't like to waste either, and so when they see it go and they're not done eating it, at multiple times I'll see them hurrying up and trying to eat the last bit, which is kind of funny. But you can't see anything because it's not showing up anything. I don't know why it's not working. I mean, literally, this is not, you can't even see anything, like I said. I'm going to borrow the baby's light so you can see. Maybe that will help. Because generally I don't put lights in here unless they're encouraging like egg laying for breeding purposes and such. That's the only time I really put any unnatural lights in and I'll put them in the breeding pen. I had bought, I wasn't even thinking, I had bought these dome lights, right? And they're pretty cool. They're completely, literally domed. It's flat on that, so you can just, and they're kind of like a paperweight type heaviness, which is important because you don't want them, they're going to be jumping all over it, and you don't want them flipping it around and hitting another bird, especially the babies. So the other thing, so I had experimented with this one, and they loved it, and I only had two, and I thought, okay, I'll just get like large set of these type of lights, and I'll just get a whole set of like 6 of them, and then I'll just budget for that. Little extra stuff like this, to be honest, this is extra. It's not life and death. I like it because, like I said, during their breeding times, when I know I'm going to start breeding them for the next generation type situation, I use these extra lights to get them to have a full, to get them to be laying eggs and fertilizing and stuff like that. So anyway, I'll pop these in there for about a week before I start my breeding program. Let me put it this way. The first week is like the get to know you type week. So I don't generally I do my breeding 2 different ways. One is, let me go back to this. This is how I get distracted. These lights, like I said, were perfect. I only had 2 of them, and they were quite expensive. Like I said, they're very heavy on the bottom, and I think I got them from like a reptile type situation, so they couldn't knock them over, or it's harder. It's not impossible to knock them over, but it's not like likelihood. They can actually jump all over it and stand on it and do all these different things and not knock it over. So I never had an issue with these ones, but then when I went and purchased like a large quantity, these were expensive. I think it was like $128 for 6 of these. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll just get flat ones, because that's basically the only thing I could find that was cheaper. And I think I got 6 of them for like $48 or something like that. So it was obviously a significantly cheaper. But the problem I had was that they were very lightweight. They were easily moved around and flipped around. They were flat, so that the birds just walked on them and sat on them and laid on them and did all their nastiness on them. And so cleaning them became a very big chore. The problem in that is, well, even though their urine and their poop mix, because it comes out like this, I did not know that apparently your urine is basically a byproduct of your blood system, so your circulatory system, and of course your poop is your digestive system. But anywho, our body separates those 2 when they come out, mostly because our urine is very high in acidity, I think, and if it mixes, it causes ammonia, which is what it causes them. So anyway, their system is much shorter than ours, and when it comes out, it combines in at this point, and then it just combines and they come out like that. So when they go potty, unless they're not ate, which is a good indication, if you're any poultry that you have, except I think ducks, any poultry, generally like chickens, quails, pheasants, different things, bird animals that are land animals, those type of birds poop the same way. The problem with it is that their poop is very dangerous to them as well as to anybody that's around them. So if it sits around for a period of time, then ammonia starts evaporating from the poop, which means it's getting harder, for example. So when it goes from the soft stage, when they go to the bathroom, there's a high concentration of ammonia involved in that, or I think nitrogen, something like that. Anywho, it comes in. It basically goes into ammonia gas. And so when you have birds like this in your house, like I do, and I live with a larger, I would say a large, I would say a moderately large. For the breeding program I'm in, I'm small potatoes. But for keeping them in your as companion animals like I am, and I'm keeping them as a social companion. There's a whole different ball game. I know in your mindset, it's all about this animal provides that instant companion relief when loneliness and deep dark thoughts start happening. You have somebody to hold on to, right? And that's what I do with my therapy dog too. She also alerts me when I'm ill. She alerts me on when I'm not ignoring. Because the problem with my being born the way I've been that I am. So all my issues I was born with. They weren't things that I acquired because I had bad habits or bad taking care of myself or anything like that. All of it was I was born with it. So it was very difficult for my mom, who is I was her second child, because I had all these medical issues, and so it didn't help that my mom was homeless for the whole time she was pregnant with me. They traveled from cross country back in those days in the 60s. It was traveling, that was norm because nobody else would travel any other way. So they would travel, and just go from one town to the other working. And so my mom didn't have any medical care or any prenatal or anything like that. And different things like that. So she was also a smoker. Both of my parents were heavy smokers. Back then, I'm sure other things were going on as well. But anyway, here nor there, they were going from Houston, Texas, whereabouts to, actually not Houston. Yeah, they did end up going to Houston. You're right. I am right. They went to Houston, Texas to stay there with my grandmama, or my mom's mom, and their family, and worked there for a while. And then when they got pregnant with me, I don't have an older sister, they decided to travel to Portland, Oregon. And so anyway, my mom, we didn't make it to Portland, Oregon. I was not born here. I was born in San Francisco, California. We spent, I think, my mom, I was in the hospital because I was considered a size of a preemie, and so they didn't anticipate me having to, for one, stay in the hospital for very long. But they ended up having to get a hotel just because the fact of the matter is that I think the hospital ended up or somebody ended up helping them get a hotel. So we spent one night in a hotel, and I was so tiny that I was in a hotel drawer um, that they put me in as a crib. And then, of course, the next day they went to Portland like they intended to because my dad had a job already lined up and everything. So. But what we're doing right now with the training is that we're basically letting them know my hands are basically the same thing that would be like what she just did. She's basically telling me no. She's a teenager. She's telling me no. So they just kind of do a quick stab at you. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Even if the guy grabs on, because the boys when they go hit puberty or when they hit their heat, they get very handsy, what I call handsy, basically beaky, and they'll basically grab a hold of you with their beak and kind of ride you like a horse, and they'll grab a hold with their legs, feet. So don't be scared when they do that because that's just basically what that is, and it doesn't hurt. If a chicken did it now, it would hurt. But the quail are so dainty, and right now they're just telling me no. They're telling me that they want to come out on their own devices, and what they have to learn is when the door is open, they don't jump out. Because the problem is that when I'm taking them in and out, in and out, in and out, I usually have, during lunchtime, dinner time, usually breakfast and dinner, I can control a little bit more because I do it after and before the big birds come out. At lunchtime, I have big birds running around here, and I have a lot of them they're predators, and it's in their nature for them to attack these birds. I have others that are above their nature. Let me put it that way. So there are animals that and just as well as humans that rule their life by their heart, their feelings or their instincts, or they can rule their life by intelligence and thought. So animals are no different. Some have some choose the capacity to understand and be trained, and understand what I want, and some are not. Like Sparky down here, my OG girls, um, she likes to play in water. Period. It doesn't matter how many times she gets in trouble for it from the other girls, because what happens is if she plays in their water and either defouls it or spills it or whatever, they don't have water until I come back in, which could be it's usually every 2 hours. I come in and run right through, and usually it's the big groups because there's I think there's 7 girls in here, and like I don't know how we'll count them when I take the OG girls out. Cause I've already done these ones. Um, but yeah, this is what I do for training. I keep the door open. They're at the age of maturity where they understand they're not babies no more. And this is when the training begins. I do some training with the babies up to this age, but mostly it's holding them, transporting them, being able to examine them. The physical stuff that I have to do with them is what that I've been working with them since they were born. But as far as training them for like environmental concerns, I do not. The babies go straight into the sandbox. The lid goes on. There's no playing with them usually. I don't usually handle them a whole lot. It's just transporting them. The older they get, the more calm they get. Then I sit there and we'll talk to them and do different things like look at their feathers, look at their wingspan, look at their and examine them. Just different things I need to be able to do if they get injured, for example. When an animal gets injured, the one I guess it would be the positive thing with birds is when they're injured, they kind of go introverted, and so it's really difficult. One to realize that they're actually in excruciating pain. So if they lose a limb, it hurts just as much as it would be if you lost a limb, right? It's just no different. The problem is that they don't respond the same way emotionally that we do. Now, we as a prey animal, or I mean, as a predator animal that preys on other animals, we will show our pain, right, to let the rest of the community know that we're hurt so we can get immediate medical help. They won't do that because they will when they do that, if they express themselves that they're in pain or hurt, they're not only telling their fellow man that they're hurt, their fellow people, but they're also telling the predators that they're hurt, and that puts the whole group at risk. So their instinct and their nature is to not to show that they're hurt or in pain or injured until they pass, right? Because at that point, they're not gonna. That would be the only way of not putting their group in danger. If they alert, saying I'm hurting or help me, that alert is heard by the predators. The predators like, oh, they're distracted, somebody is hurt, and then they'll come, and also that alerts them where they're at because they're in hiding. These animals hide. They do. They're very quiet. They hide. They need something to hide in. I understand that you guys have like big cages with, and they're open. They shouldn't be open all the way across. I'm letting you guys know this. If you want calm birds, you need to. One, I don't care how protected you are, that you have them in a garage, you have them in a building on their own. Predators will get in there. After time, predators will get in there. They know that they're in there, and it's like open buffet, right? There's no defense mechanism. If a predator gets in here, they can eat as much as they want to and come back for more, right? So usually what predators do, they'll get an entrance, exit into whatever facility you have, and it's not going to be in an obvious place. It's going to be in a hidden place because they want to come back for more, right? And so all they do is make holes. So if you're not in there inspecting your kennels, there also I was watching a video where this lady's like, oh, I got this new brooder for my quail, and I'm like, yeah, that's not good because any rat could go through that, and she's got a ferret or weasel in it and to test it out, and I'm like, well, first of all, yes, ferrets can go into very small places, but not as small as rats. Rats can, whatever is the size of the rat's head, it doesn't matter what size their body is. When you look at a rat, you're not going to be looking at the huge body, even though that scares me on a whole level, next level. I spent my whole entire life being terrorized by my mom by rats, so it's not something that I'm okay with it. If my kids wanted a pet rat, I'm okay with it, right? I'm okay taking care of it, doing all the different things I need to do because that's what parents usually do. I am not okay voluntarily wanting to do that on my own, and or would I wouldn't want to have that as companions around me. So they're very intelligent animals, and I'm not saying they aren't. That's the bane of my existence with them is that how intelligent they are. But anywho, you have to look at the rat's head. Most rats can put their head within a quarter diameter, and so their whole body is collapsible, so they can just like slide right through like an octopus. And so if you look at her head right there, her head and a rat's head is exactly the same size. So if she can stick her head through this bar, then a rat can stick their head through that bar. And so 90, that's how you have to judge it. I had to go through several sites to find these, and it's because this is what I'm looking for. It's not. I wanted something that was double decker, that was all one unit. So I didn't want a whole bunch of these little things all over the place. I wanted something that was made of wood and not metal. I wanted something that had trays in it so I could clean it, obviously, and on both ends. Some of them had just a tray on the top and not a tray on the bottom that could be removed. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be a pain. So they had to be removable. They had to be able to be combined if I wanted to combine them, so it does. It has an opening in there that has a staircase, a ramp that goes down it, and then I just close that off. It has a door that actually physically closes it off so that you can have it as 2 units or 1. So anyway, it had all the requirements, and then most of them, the reason why I didn't get them, even though they were better quality probably, I don't know if I obviously didn't buy it, but is because of the metal mesh. The metal mesh on 90% of them were too big. The 12 babies could walk right through. Yeah. So I needed something, and if a 12 baby can walk through, a rat can walk in. So, yeah. We needed something that was better. So this was the only one that I finally found. I did buy one, but the mesh, it looks in the pictures like it was the same as this. Exactly the same, but the mesh on it was the larger mesh. And so I ended up having to give it to the big bird. They don't, basically Sassy uses it. I think at one time I had the tray in it. It fell apart. It was such a, I don't want to say the word CRAP, but you're dealing with birds, so crap. But it fell apart. The first thing that fell apart was the internal frame, which I had nothing to do with. The only thing that you're putting together is basically it comes in these big put together already, and they're just you got this front, this side, and all. This is all one unit. The sides are all one unit. The back is 2 units. They are separated, but the sides are all one unit. So it's not like you could separate them if you wanted to. They are one unit, which is what I wanted. So you can't separate them completely. You can just separate so they're not have access to both floors. So, but anyway, that was the one I purchased. It looks exactly like this. It had the wrong mesh because even the picture showed the same thing. Had the wrong mesh put in there, and then on all sides, so they could, like I said, they could just walk right out of it. And then the tray, the internal part fell apart first, and then the trays actually fell apart from the frame, which, like I said, these are all things that were pre-built. I had nothing to do with any of that. The actual part that I had anything to do with is still in place. It's a shell right now. There's nothing in the middle. All the stuff that they had prefabricated fell apart. Literally, just the whole inside fell apart. And then, like I said, the only thing that's actually put together still to this day is the frame what I put together myself. And that, like I said, Sassy is using right now. So girls sleep will sleep on the top. Scott puts it up there. And there's only so many flyers. So at nighttime, what I do is I put Lizzie Boo in there. She can't fly up there, but it's a safe place for her to be. And then right now, because they're all in mourning because of Little Bit, she's not sharing her space with anyone. So there's no one up there but her. And then Izzy took over the baby's shelf. So she's on that. And then the babies are next to Sassy Boo right today. You'll be able to see it on a tape in a minute because their camera fell, so that you can't see nothing right now. But I'll tape it before I'm done with this live so you can see what they look like before I let them out. And then Sassy Boo is in there. I put all the birds in there because they are in mourning. We are mourning right now. And so that's what we're doing. But anyway, this is how we train them. We're basically letting them know that they can't put their feet, but they can lean over, do all that stuff. I'm not telling them they can't look around. I'm not telling them they can't come out right, but they just can't come out at certain times. So when I put my hands up like this, that is an indication that they cannot come out. If I do not tell them they can't come out, then they can jump out at will. But she got a little paw up there, so Mama's telling her no. And this is the same thing that in the bird world, what they would do is the head hen or the hen subject, or whatever they have to help them monitor all the birds, because that's usually what it is. It's a head hen, and then she has her subjects around her, which is all female. And then when the new babies come out, they discipline them as a group. Hi, sweetie. No pop-ups. You can look, but no pop-ups. But that's how I train them. And it's just basically, they all are going to come over here. There's a lot of them. So each one of them is going to make the attempt to see and learn. So they know I'm head hen. They know that I'm in charge. They know I don't hurt them. And so I'm just basically doing the same motions that they would do within amongst themselves. I did leave one of the last ones that were born last year in there. So there is an OG girl in here, but she's still young herself. She's not even a full year old. But she's in here, and that helps out them calm down. They need direction. So having like their first hatch is always going to be their hardest. And unfortunately, it's because they're raising themselves, right? There's no other hens and just to raise them. And so what I do with mine is that if I don't have any young, I've learned that the egg laying females are not going to be very good at good at being au pairs, so taking care of the baby. The ones that are really good are the ones that are female all the way up until they start laying eggs. So there's about 3-4 weeks there that you're gonna have that they're old enough type situation. And so Baby Doll was born this spring, and she's been my au pair. Last season, my fall season, I had two tuxedo girls, which is Dora and Dottie. Dora and she's passed away now. So anyway, but those two were my au pairs. So they were month old. They were tuxedos, so obviously they weren't going to be able to be vet sexed at that point. But I use my OG girls to tell me what sex they are. So generally, if it's a boy, they will literally put that boy in the corner. So if you open up the kennel and you got a boy standing in the corner, and all the other ones are roaming around pleasantly having a good time, then you know that's a boy. Usually that's the indication in my assessment, because no ma'am, we don't be mean to mama. We don't do that. So I'm using my finger just to pop, basically I'm touching the top of her head. So it's really hard when you're playing with your birds because you may inadvertently be telling them something. For example, popping on top of their head or basically touching the top of their head. So you're just basically doing a touch on the top of your head. I'm not hitting them or anything like that. But that in the bird world is no. Like, absolutely not. You're not doing that. And so they do it a lot harsher than me. They will pull feathers. They will draw blood. And it starts off, by the way. They don't just go right for the jugular vein. Especially with the quails. Like I said, they're very mild-mannered. So if you get somebody that's hurt, there's a reason why they're hurt. Unless you have one female with 5 boys, right? Now that's different. But if you got 5 girls with one guy and the guy keeps getting beat up, there's a reason why. They don't like him. You need to take him out because it's not going to work. I had that problem when I first started because I had 5 boys, 2 girls, and of those 5 boys, 3 of them were just awful to each other and to no, we're not popping me. Now she's popping me and telling me no, and I'm telling her no back because she's a teenager. These are all teenagers in here, young adults. Some are laying eggs already, and some are not. I'm trying to think if I got any eggs out from them this morning. I don't see any over here. No. Yesterday I think we got a total of 3 out of them. So like I said, they're very young. And the only reason why I can know that they're all girls is, like I said, I'm relying 100% on my girls, my other girls. They'll put it, like I said, they'll put the boys in the corner, and yeah. So I'm going to put this in here so you guys can see them because they're going to come over and mess with it anyway. I don't know if you can see anything. Yeah, I guess so. I'm going to put it way in the back. Does that help? I'll put over here. Nice. I think that's the best we're going to get, guys. Alright, so let me get the other babies out. These are not babies. These are my OG mamas. They're going to be significantly larger. Like I said, they're not filled out all the way. These are teenagers. So don't look at them like, oh, they're not very big. Yeah, because they're not supposed to be that big. So most of them are standard. There is some their age differences are from months to weeks. So I do have some jumbo in there that are blending in so that you really can't tell that they're jumbo. It's because all my solid reds are jumbo. So they are much significant. They were just born like less than 3 weeks to 4 weeks, 3 weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago. And some of the other ones in here are almost, like I said, egg laying. So, yeah. Anywho, let me get the OG girls out. I don't know how much we're going to tape because, like I said, I don't want to offend anyone by showing them nastiness, but we are all humans. This is one of my tuxedo girls. These are all OGs. I had them all separated by type when I was breeding, so I could keep an eye on what I needed and what I didn't need. I have to visually be able to do that. I cannot look at a bunch of birds and say, okay, I got blah, 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 because it doesn't work. I need to be able to see them. So what I do is I take them all of them by type, tuxedo, my solid reds and my EBs went together because I didn't have enough for her. She's the only solid red female I have right now. Well, I have some over here, but these are my red tuxedos. So what I did was I had a red and EB group, and they're all different sizes. This is my EB girl. She's my OG, actually. She's my darkness. She's a standard. She's my smallest bird, female. So she kind of looks like a month old, but she's really not. She's only over a year. But then these are all my ferals that I got because I didn't have a whole lot of ferals. I had one feral, which is my Daryl, and I had a lot of tuxedos because I had a lot of females that were tuxedos. Now, what the OG's girls have been doing is they've been putting all their eggs in one spot And then putting the young babies that I just put in there, they're just born this spring, um, and they're putting them in to guard them. I think it's freaking hilarious. So I told them I didn't want them dirty. I didn't want dirty eggs anymore. So that's their solution was to put this baby in charge. So I'm just gonna put him in this bowl because I'm not doing anything with these eggs. Nobody's consuming them except the animals in the thicket. But who is it? This? I took all the little babies away, so they had Sparky guarding the eggs. So she's my she and Sissy are the same. They looked exactly the same, but now she's looking much different than him. But anyway, yeah, they have all three, all a bunch of eggs right here. Look at all together in a pile, which they probably rolled them over to get to that. Somebody just laid one. It's warm. This one right here, that is warm. They just laid that one. I don't know who laid it. Somebody just laid it. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys watch them. I don't know if it's like I said, the camera is not working right. I don't know. It's supposed to have infrared for dark light, dim light, but it's not working. So I don't know. I need to buy some more. To be honest with you, they're about $40. Well, by the time you get the SD card, they're close to almost 60. By the time you get that. I don't want to sit down too long. Alright, so I don't know why I brought this down to the eggs, and then I just put it back up in here. I always have a bag over here for the eggs. I actually have, I change out the bags every time I get new, I use the pea pad bag that comes in as my egg bag, and the egg bag, I can't wash any of my waters, I'm just getting them out of the way. My water container that I'm using, I'm using to wash. And their food is already pre-made, but they have a little bit of they have a little bit left over. Usually what I do is I put all of this in a new box, a new container. I'm changing out their containers. I put it in a new container and then I'll add to it. The growing girls, because there's a lot of growing girls still in this group. Anytime you have babies that are still growing, it takes them about 2 months to completely grow out. And generally 2 months to 2 months to 10 weeks. I think about that. But you have to make sure you provide them with. I don't provide them. I kind of provide them with 24-hour food, but there is times that their food is out. They do get 4 meals a day. So most of them get 4 meals a day. I heard you. I'm getting it right now. It's already cooking. He's like, hot food, hot food, mama. No, you gotta be quiet, baby. They said if I can talk, they don't understand my talking. Oh, I cannot get to your food right now. You're gonna have to wait a minute. He's not gonna stop. He's gonna keep doing it until he gets what he wants. He wants his dinner right now. doesn't want a dinner. He's doing this for Honeyboo. Honeyboo's the one telling him to do it. Because Honey's hungry. Honey eats a lot. It's a big, for a cookie, it's a big bird. Anyway, I'm going to put this with this. And then fill their container up. Make sure it's full. And then they'll get lunch, and then they'll get dinner, and then they get another one. If they are empty, they'll get another one at 9:30. Generally, it's not too bad. All right, I gotta get this stuff off of here. So I need my dustpan, which is under me. This is why I can't go feeding hands. I'm so clean and you gotta be quiet, Moo. Getting up the excess stuff, usually calcium or rock that was not ate out of their food, or grit, mostly. Then there's other, and there's some food, obviously, and then obviously other stuff, but mostly it's calcium. Now, I do provide calcium for when I do separate them out. So when they're old enough to be on their own, so I took all the boys out and put them in individual cells in their own spatula pads at this age. Usually they're about a month old. They get their own place. Now last season, which is my fall, I didn't do it that way. I didn't have enough OG-Mon. She taxed on sterile, and she got prolapse vent because she was under so much stress. So I only had her in darkness. Darkness did not tolerate babies. They scared her. She didn't mind the teenagers at this age, but she cannot handle anything younger. So anyway, I used Daryl to socialize them. That was really important to my plan. Anyway, she got stressed out and got prolapse vent. Plus, I was putting her on a high protein diet, which I shouldn't have been. It's not that I was experimenting, but I was going off of what a lot of people were saying. But apparently, those people were wrong. And that caused her to have too much protein in her diet, and that can cause prolapse as well. So usually at the 2 meal run, that's what I was doing. I was giving them a lot. But they like them so much. But it makes the eggs really, really big, and the problem is that she's not really small. Darkness is actually smaller than her. But she really likes those mealy ones. Sorry about my butt. You're not seeing that anyway. For this reason, I have to get in here. That sometimes is an awkward position. Alright. I need to try it out. Not really wet, but it's enough wet. Put the pea pads on it. Alright. I know. I'm behind here. But training sometimes takes time. Yeah. Alright. My back is going to be to them in a minute. Usually, if I can't have eyes on them, I just shut the door. they're not starving anymore. I mean, they were, when they first got put in a group, I usually put 2 bowls in there. So they just were too angsty. And it's not that they can't share, it's just, like I said, they were, some of them, a lot of them were in different groups, so they were not, when they all got separated up. By the time they get fed there, they get separated, so they're all in separate groups. So they hadn't seen each other for a while. So there was a little bit of issues with them. So they started fighting over the food, and I don't like them doing that. So what I did was I just put 2 in there. The 2 containers of food, I just separated the food in 2. And then the other thing I did was I put all the calcium in one big line in front of their not part of their enclosure, just like in a small little bit of line, so it's not like all over the place. And then they stopped fighting over that. They were fighting over everything. So I just made it so it's not as fightable. Anyway, it calmed them down. Anyway, they still are, every once in a while, have a little tidbit, but most of the time they don't. Alright, we are done with the bottom. Get on! I need to move this water over here. I'm turning myself into a circle. Alright, so we're back. I don't know what my phone went. I can't see what I'm doing. And they're probably dusted it. There we go. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see. So dark. That's not too bad. Alright, anyway, they got their house done. So there's what they only need one. They're civilized. These are civilized women in here. They don't fight. And I can't give them their water because they don't have a container to clean it out. I should have done that before I used the dishwasher water to clean out panels. Alright, you darkness need to stop doing that. She likes it. She's so tiny that she can just climb right on the jumbos. So these are all my jumbos. So I have a lot of jumbos. Like I said, the only one that was a small one was my darkness. So she's a tiny little thing. We are not needing to do that. So these, like I said, these are my tuxedo girls. They were all born last fall. Ruby was born last fall. She's my red girl. She's a solid red jumbo. This is Teddy Bear. She's also from the same group. My Daryl. She's my OG mama. And that's my Melody or my Dora. I don't remember which one that is. And then my Teddy Bear is from the red group. So I got my red group in the fall, and then I got a couple tuxedo girls. I only had Sparky, which is my multicolored girl. I had her, and then I had a tuxedo with Melody, and then I had Daryl and Darkness. So that's all I had. I couldn't. So then from those, I think that Sparky is a Rosetta BB is what she is. I don't know what that's called, but anyway, because her dad was a Rosetta, and we lost her papa, obviously, but her papa was a Rosetta, and I bred him with both Daryl and Darkness. So I don't know who the mom was, but I'm assuming Darkness was the mom because she doesn't have the feral type. You can't see the feral as much, so you should have seen it a little bit more than you do. But I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but she I think that personally her mom is because Melody was Daryl's kid, and yeah. So anyway, I only had 4 girls. I got 4 girls from that first time when Daryl and Darkness were old enough to breed and be fertilized. Um, and we just went from there. So I only have one male from my original 5, and that was my Sunny D, and he's an ED. So I finally got a lot of my feral, um, so that worked out real well. So now I got my tuxedos. I have regular tuxedo, feral tuxedos. I have tuxedo reds. I have feral with the white stripes, and I have ferals with the gold stripes. I don't know what those called. I have tuxedo with the white and the red. I try to keep that white and red going. And then I have another one which is from Sparky's group. I bred her, and because she's got that rosette in there. So now I have tuxedo red, white, tuxedo red, and tuxedo black from the rosette. So I'm hoping that's what word I'm using rosette correctly. Once again, I don't know. It could have been Tibetan, but it's got the black in it, so it's very deep black. So it can't. She has it, and so does her brother Sissy, but I can't use Sissy because he has prostate. So those are the only two I got from that Papa. So Sissy's passed. So the only two were born was Sissy and Sparky, and so that's the only line I have with that dark black in it. So I have to be really. In actuality, I can only use Sparky as the mom because. But now she's got babies going on, so I have some tuxedo blacks and I have some feral black that has that black in there. And what I'm working on right now is I'm working on a line that's just completely red from head to toe with white wings. So that's what I'm working on. I don't know what that's called, but that's what I'm working on. I got one from Baby Doll. Baby Doll is she doesn't have a complete red face. She has the collar, but I heard the collar goes away when the older they get. So that's what I heard. Anyway, but she's completely what I want. I was so excited when she was born. She has the white wings, and she's completely red. But she does, like I said, she does have the face. But I was told that the white face goes away. We'll see. But she's got dislocated hips, so she's not able to be bred. Um, so I have no babies for you. She takes care of all my. She's my nursery mama. She's my au pair. I swear love her so much. And she gets to go outside in the front room with mama. As she gets around, she can get into her house. She's showing off right now. I know it. She gets into her house. She's really good at keeping it clean. She's keeping it. Well, she needs water. She's out of water. She spilled it. But other than that, she's really good. So anyway, both of the groups are done. I do the babies are next, and then I will be doing the big boys. Usually I leave the babies in there because I usually do them when the girls are out here. So I have to prep. I have to prep the. So they don't play with the babies. The babies go right into the dustbin. And so usually what I do is I put the pee pad on the bed, put my bedding away because my bedding's still there. And that's what I usually do next. And then I start working on the babies. So there's only 2 kennels with babies in them. These ones down here on this side are my new juvie boys. One of them, as you can hear, is crowing. He just started like yesterday, I think it was, but they've been in there for about a week. And so one's a tuxedo, and the other one is a solid red. So neither one of them are flexible. But like I said, are feather sexable, but they're not able to be vent sexed because they're too young. So I'll show you what they look like. But they're separated because they're boys. As far as moms are concerned, I did have them in with. This is my solid red, and then this is my tuxedo boy. That's a sweet baby. They don't. They get cleaned out once a day because they're only one baby. They have a whole house to themselves. And here we have my flaxen line and one of my solid reds um, that were hatched together. I always hatch with anytime I get shipped eggs. I always hatch some of my eggs with them just in case this happens, which it did. So anyway, I think I had 2 or 3 of mine in there, and then the rest were 12 were the ones that were shipped. I don't know what happened in shipping, but we're just not doing good with shipping this year. But anyway, that's that's where we're at with them. They have to be cleaned out, obviously. Babies get cleaned out just as much as the moms, 3 times a day. Baby doll, depending on how bad it gets in there, she gets it cleaned out, but she's been spending more days with mom. These are my 2 ones that were also born just before, obviously, the ones I just showed you. They're about 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks before that. So I was in the middle of my breeding program. Usually, if I'm going to have shipped eggs, I do my breeding program and then I do them last because I want to get an idea of if I'm going to have an issue with an incubator, I want to have it on my eggs, not the ones I buy. You are not coming out. Generally, I don't have the door open as much because that's what they do. But anyway, these ones will also be cleaned out, obviously, because they're babies. And I haven't done it yet because this is what I'm doing now. But anyway, those are 2 boys, by the way. There is a girl, but she's in with the teenage girls. Um, she is doing very well. And this is my baby doll. So her house will get cleaned out as well. Obviously, because she's not mobile on her feet, she has control of both feet, and she has control over the legs. Her hip is dislocated, or it's called hip dysplasia. And so this couple, depending on what it is, they'd either have to pin it in place or surgically do it. But most vets will just remove the limb completely, which is fine. That sometimes will happen. The reason why I don't want to do that is because one, if she didn't have mobility of her feet, and which she does, which means she has feeling and she can control it. So, like I said, it's just the hip. So there's a couple things I can do that I haven't done. I'm avoiding. I'm probably going to do it soon because we do have an order in for the next order of flaxens because we only got 2 out of the 12. And starting a new line on 2 birds is not ever a good idea. It's just not healthy. But anywho, here nor there, she's going to be taking care of those babies. So there's one option I can do in the meantime, because those haven't even shipped yet, and obviously they'd have to incubate for 2 weeks before she even gets a hold of them. So it's a guarantee I'm going to get at least 3 weeks minimum if I do this procedure, as far as having her immobile. I don't want her immobile with babies because they need a constant care. So what I'm possibly going to do is band her hips. I can put it in and out. It just keeps popping back out. So what I can do is band her around the hips and keep her hips in place. It's just that she's not going to be able to be mobile like she's used to because she won't have access to that leg anymore, in a sense, until that hip heals. Generally, it takes about 6 months on a human. On birds, especially quails, their healing system is much faster. So it might the 3 weeks minimum. I would like to get at least a month out of it, and I think a month would do it. Because even if I've seen them scalp each other, literally this means that they've removed all their feathers and even their first layer of skin, to sometimes to bone. I haven't got anything like that drastic, but they usually are, if any, they usually heal within, the longest I've seen it was like 2 weeks. And that was because, like I said, it was pretty dang close. He got in, they did a number on that one. That's usually the boys. That was before I started using the Daryl system, which is basically having my girls tell me if they're boys or girls. So I was just kind of like putting them all teenagers until they start growing. Well, they start beating each other up way before they start growing. Sometimes that's enough. Please. I'm getting your food right now. So please be patient. But anyway, that's kind of that. Those three still need to be done. All the boys already have their food. They get food for the 24-hour type. Um, Obviously, they're not in competition with their food, so it's not a big issue. They don't generally they're pretty good about. One thing about my boys, my girl boys especially, is they're very clean and they don't like a mess. They're very OCD. Very much so. Very much so. Sorry about the mess. Mostly, and all this is food, basically. Usually my Isha comes over here and cleans it up for me. Okay, this is not the one. Why did you put that on the table? I don't know. I just realized I didn't see it, and I'm like, where'd it go? Here I am using it. Okay, this is enough for, I'm trying to get, this is enough for Honeyboo and Luna. And then Luna and Macho. There's no point in having two bowls down for Honeyboo and Luna because Honey's not going to let Luna eat anyway. So I have to actually put the two Lunas down. And then this is the smaller birds, which are my jungle fowl. These are my Stoker boys, they're bigger. And then my jungle fowl bantams are very small. And then Sassy Boo, my big boy, will get a bigger bowl, which is this bowl right here. And then he gets out of this. I already have it made. I'm coming in there. You're gonna have to wait a minute. I was waiting too much. Now they all have a match. They do not eat dry food. In the wild, they don't eat dry food. And in here, they don't eat dry food. So their water is put in with their food, which sometimes causes a problem. Especially if I put too much water into the rush. And they're rushing me. And of course, me that they're crying, and I have a person that's sleeping right next to them. So I don't need this noise from that. And of course, I put too much water. So it's kind of like the consistency of oatmeal. It has to stick together, but it can't be soupy, and it has to be able to come off the walls. It's thin. So kind of at that consistency is what this is. All right, boys, you need to stop with the nose. Out. You gonna stop, please? Thank you. You see the food right there, Macho. I gotta switch cameras, guys.